Dr. Elias Moore had never been particularly lucky with doors. On Earth, he had been careful, precise, always making sure he knocked or waited for someone to answer before stepping in. But Nova Haven was different. Floating above the edge of the Andromeda sector, the colony was alive with sounds, lights, and smells that no human had ever experienced before. Metal corridors hummed softly under the weight of artificial gravity, and walls glowed with panels that pulsed faintly as though breathing. Elias had spent months mapping out the routines of the alien residents, but today he felt something he hadn't felt before, a strange mixture of nervousness and curiosity. He carried a clipboard with several sheets of information. His assignment was simple, or so it seemed. He had to make a full check of residential quarters, note any inconsistencies, and ensure the alien inhabitants were comfortable in the new environment. It was part of a broader research project, understanding how human and alien cohabitation could work without stress or conflict. Elias prided himself on being meticulous, the sort of scientist who rarely made mistakes, but Doors, apparently, had other ideas. He approached a room he assumed belonged to one of the younger aliens. The door was translucent with swirling colors inside, and Elias could see shapes moving behind it. He knocked lightly, waited a moment, but the shapes didn't respond. "Maybe they're asleep," he muttered to himself. "Or meditating, they do that a lot." Without thinking, Elias turned the handle and stepped inside. The moment the door swung open, he froze. The room was bathed in soft blue light, and in the center sat an alien girl. She had luminescent skin that shifted subtly from pale gold to soft pink with every movement, and her eyes were large, reflective, and curious. She was cross-legged on the floor, her hands hovering over what appeared to be a small holographic garden. Tiny plants floated in midair, spinning and glowing, each one pulsing in time with her breathing. Elias had never seen anything like it. For a moment, both of them just stared. The alien girl blinked slowly, her pupils widening slightly. Elias' mind scrambled. He opened his mouth to apologize, but the words stumbled over each other. I'm sorry," he said finally, his voice awkward in the quiet room. I didn't mean to." The alien girl tilted her head, making a series of soft, melodic clicks and whistles. Elias wasn't sure what they meant, but the tone wasn't hostile. It wasn't angry or frightened. It sounded almost like curiosity. His heart rate slowed a little. Maybe this was her way of saying, "What are you doing here?" He took a small step back, holding his clipboard like a shield. I thought this was the room next door," he stammered. "I was just checking on things, inventory." The alien girl's hands continued to hover over the floating plants, and slowly a small, green bud began to sprout from one of the holographic stems. It shone brighter for a moment, then gently expanded as though breathing. Elias blinked. He realized then that this private activity he had walked in on was not personal in the way humans might think. It was a form of care, of growth, of meditation. "Oh," he said, relief flooding through him. "You're gardening." She clicked again, and this time the sound seemed lighter, almost amused. She lifted one of the tiny floating plants, and it floated toward Elias, hovering just in front of his face. He instinctively reached out, and the moment his fingers brushed it, it shimmered and expanded into a tiny blossom, then gently drifted back to her hands. Elias laughed nervously. "This is incredible. I didn't know you could make them grow like that." She tilted her head and then made a motion toward him. He frowned. A question, an invitation, hesitating, he nodded slowly. "You want me to try?" The alien girl's large eyes glimmered. She didn't speak, but she didn't stop him either. Elias took a deep breath and focused on the nearest floating bud. He remembered all the techniques he had read in her species guidebooks, but none of it seemed to work. The bud didn't move. Nothing happened. He frowned, feeling the sting of failure. The alien girl watched silently, then let out a series of short clicks that seemed to indicate encouragement. Elias chuckled awkwardly. "Right, okay, I guess humans have to improvise." He experimented, using gentle hand movements, his imagination, and his focus on the energy around the plant. Slowly, almost magically, the bud responded, glowing faintly and stretching upward as though reaching for him. The alien girl's eyes lit up, and Elias felt a sense of triumph. He had done it. Not with precision, not with knowledge, but with human creativity and intuition. For the next hour, they worked together. The alien girl showed him subtle ways to influence the plants, using thought, intention, and delicate gestures. Elias combined this with his human approach: curiosity, trial and error, and a willingness to fail. Buds bloomed, leaves unfurled, and a few of the more stubborn plants responded to his unpredictable techniques. By the time he finally realized, he had been in the room for far longer than intended. A small floating garden glowed between them, pulsing softly with life. Finally, the alien girl leaned back, clicking in a slow rhythm. Elias smiled, breathing heavily, feeling both exhilarated and humbled. He had never expected to learn something so profound from a simple mistake. The alien girl, too, seemed pleased. She reached out a hand, and Elias hesitated for a moment before returning the gesture. They didn't touch in the human sense, but a quiet understanding passed between them. "You teach me patience," Elias said softly, half joking. She tilted her head, the corners of her luminous lips curving slightly. It was the closest thing to a smile he had seen from her species, and it made him feel warm inside. He realized something important. Humans had a rare ability to bridge gaps not just with technology, but with empathy, creativity, and openness. Eventually, he glanced at the door and realized he had to leave. He didn't want to, not yet, but duty called. He made a mental note to return. I'll come back tomorrow," he said. "Would you let me?" Another series of melodic clicks answered him. Elias wasn't fluent in her language yet, but the tone was unmistakable: yes. He stepped out of the room, closing the door gently behind him, and felt a rush of excitement. Today, by accident, he had discovered something extraordinary. Not a new species, not a new planet, but a connection. Between human and alien, curiosity and trust, creativity and understanding. And in that moment, Elias more understood why humans could thrive anywhere, even among species far different from themselves. They had the ability to adapt, to learn, to empathize, and most importantly, to turn mistakes into opportunities. As he walked back down the corridor, he caught himself smiling. Tomorrow would be another day, another chance to explore, to learn, and maybe, just maybe, to grow something amazing together. Nova Haven was full of wonders, but today had reminded him of something even more important. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries happen not in labs or control rooms, but in the quiet, unexpected spaces between one life and another. And humans, he thought, had a unique gift for being present in those moments. The corridor lights pulsed softly as he made his way back to his quarters. He felt a spark of hope, a thrill of curiosity, and a tiny, unspoken bond with the alien girl whose garden floated in midair, glowing in colors that no human name could describe. And he knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. Elias could hardly sleep that night. His mind replayed the events of the day over and over. The alien girl's luminous eyes, the floating garden, the way she seemed to communicate without words, it all felt surreal. He had walked into what he thought would be a routine task, and ended up discovering a world unlike anything he had imagined. And now, the thought of going back to learn more filled him with excitement and a little nervousness. The next morning, he woke early and prepared carefully. He reviewed what he had seen the day before, making notes about the plants, their movements, and the way they responded to her gestures. But beyond the technical details, he also thought about the lessons hidden in the experience. Humans had a knack for seeing possibilities where others saw rules. Perhaps that would be the key today as well. Elias approached her room with a mixture of caution and anticipation. He knocked lightly, remembering the embarrassment of yesterday. There was no immediate answer. The door's swirling colors shifted gently, and a faint hum of energy vibrated through the walls. He pushed the door open slowly. This time, she was already waiting. The alien girl sat in the center of the room, the holographic garden floating around her like a halo of light. But she was not alone. Tiny motes of shimmering energy drifted around her, hovering near the plants. Elias realized these were more than just visual effects. They were part of the process, subtle currents of alien energy that helped the plants respond to thought and movement. She turned her gaze to him, her eyes large and bright, and emitted a series of short, melodic clicks. He smiled and nodded, hoping she understood that he had come to learn, not to intrude. He stepped carefully into the room and took a deep breath. "I want to try again," he said. "I want to understand your garden better. Will you teach me?" Another series of clicks, this time longer and almost musical, followed by a gentle gesture of her hand toward the plants. Elias interpreted it as an invitation. He nodded and moved closer. They began slowly. The alien girl guided him with subtle motions of her hands, showing him how to focus on each plant, how to sense its energy, and how to direct it without forcing it. Elias followed her instructions carefully, remembering the lessons from yesterday: patience, observation, and creativity. At first, his attempts were awkward. The plants wavered, shimmered, and then drifted back into inactivity. Elias sighed and sat back, feeling the familiar sting of failure. But the alien girl did not seem disappointed. She hovered near him, her presence calm and encouraging. Slowly, Elias realized that she was teaching him something deeper than plant care. She was teaching him patience and intuition, qualities humans sometimes overlooked in their rush to solve problems. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He imagined the energy flowing through the room, flowing through himself, and then toward the nearest plant. He moved his hands slowly, letting them float above the air instead of trying to control it. The plant quivered slightly, then shimmered, responding to the rhythm of his breath. Elia's eyes opened in surprise, and the alien girl tilted her head, letting out a soft trill of sound that seemed like approval. Over the next hour, they experimented together. Elias learned to combine human improvisation with her structured, precise movements. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it failed, but each time they tried, the garden grew more vibrant. Buds unfurled in soft blues and purples, leaves shimmered with metallic hues, and a small vine twisted into patterns that resembled stars. Elias noticed something extraordinary. The plants responded not only to thought and gesture, but to emotion. His curiosity, excitement, and even occasional frustration influenced the growth in subtle ways. The alien girl seemed aware of this, her own expressions changing with every new flourish of the garden. At one point, a stubborn bud refused to bloom. Elias tried everything he knew, but it remained dormant. Frustration crept in, and he muttered under his breath. The alien girl floated closer, her energy motes shimmering brighter. She made a slow, deliberate motion with her hands, and suddenly Elias realized what he had been missing. He had been trying too hard, too forcefully. He relaxed, let go of control, and allowed the plant to respond naturally. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, it began to glow, then expanded into a small, radiant flower. Elias laughed quietly, feeling a mix of relief and wonder. "So it's about letting go," he said. "Not controlling, just guiding." The alien girl clicked softly, and for a moment, Elias thought he saw her lips curve slightly. He realized that she was teaching him more than gardening. She was teaching him to observe, to respect, and to understand life on its own terms, lessons that were valuable not just for plants, but for humans as well. As the day went on, they continued to experiment. They created new patterns in the garden, combining his ideas with hers. Elias suggested a spiral arrangement, and she responded with a sequence of shimmering lights that complemented his design. Together, they created a miniature galaxy of plants, each one glowing, floating, and interacting with the others in a complex dance of color and movement. Other humans occasionally passed by, curious about the light streaming from her room, but Elias waved them off, wanting to preserve this private collaboration. He realized that in this quiet space, humans had a special ability to connect with others through curiosity and shared experience, even across species. No alien technology could replicate that. By evening, they were both exhausted but exhilarated. Elias stepped back and admired the floating garden. It was no longer just a collection of plants. It was a symbol of collaboration, creativity, and mutual respect. The alien girl hovered nearby, her energy motes dimming slightly as if relaxing after exertion. Elias smiled and offered a hand. She hesitated, then mirrored the gesture in her own way, a silent acknowledgement of their shared achievement. Elias left the room with a sense of fulfillment unlike anything he had felt before. In his quarters, he recorded his observations, not just about the plants, but about the human qualities that had made this possible: intuition, improvisation, patience, and empathy. These were traits that could thrive in any environment, even among alien species, and they reminded him why humanity had survived and prospered across the stars. The next day, Elias returned, eager to explore further. This time, he brought materials that he thought might enhance the garden, small human devices designed to monitor energy and growth patterns. The alien girl observed them with curiosity, her clicks rhythmic and musical. Together, they experimented, integrating human tools with alien techniques. Some devices failed spectacularly, spinning out of control or dimming unexpectedly, but each failure was an opportunity to learn. Through this process, Elias realized that humans had a unique way of turning mistakes into progress. While alien species often followed precise patterns and rules, humans experimented, adapted, and improvised. The combination of their approaches resulted in outcomes neither could have achieved alone. By the end of the third day, their garden had transformed into something truly extraordinary. Plants floated in elegant spirals, energy motes danced like fireflies, and colors shifted in mesmerizing waves. Elias stepped back, feeling a profound sense of connection, not just with the alien girl, but with the idea that humans could contribute something unique to the universe. As he prepared to leave, the alien girl made a soft, melodic sound and gestured toward him. Elias hesitated, then realized she wanted him to stay a moment longer. He did, sitting quietly beside her, watching the garden pulse and shimmer. In that silence, he understood something fundamental. Humanity's greatest strength was not force, technology, or even intelligence. It was the ability to connect, create, and inspire across boundaries. When he finally stepped out into the corridor, Elias felt a mixture of satisfaction and anticipation. He had discovered not just an alien ritual, but a new way of thinking, a way of merging human intuition with alien precision. And he knew that tomorrow, and the days after, there would be more lessons, more discoveries, and more moments where humans could shine in ways no one had expected. He walked down the glowing corridor, his mind alive with ideas. Somewhere behind the translucent door, the alien girl continued her garden, her energy and focus creating life in a way that humans could understand, appreciate, and enhance. Elias smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning of a partnership that could change the way humans and aliens looked at the universe. For the first time in his life, he felt truly connected to something greater than himself. It wasn't a discovery of a new plant, a new technique, or even a new species. It was a discovery of the power of collaboration, curiosity, and understanding, qualities that humans carried into every corner of the galaxy. And in that quiet moment, he knew that no mistake, no accidental door opening, could ever diminish the potential that humans had to reach out, learn, and grow, sometimes literally, as he had seen today. The floating garden was not just a collection of alien plants. It was a symbol of what could happen when humans approached the unknown with an open heart and an inquisitive mind. Tomorrow, he would return. And tomorrow, he would continue to explore, create, and connect, proving once again that humans could thrive in ways no one had imagined, and that even the smallest interactions could lead to the greatest discoveries. The morning sunlight on Nova Haven was different from any sunrise Elias had ever seen on Earth. The colony's outer panels reflected a soft rainbow of colors, casting gentle light across the corridors. Elias walked toward the alien girl's room with a sense of purpose he had never felt before. Each day he had spent with her and her floating garden had opened new ways of thinking. Today, he felt that something bigger was possible. He reached her door and knocked lightly, the familiar hum of energy resonating beneath the translucent surface. There was no immediate response, but the light inside swirled more brightly than usual. Taking a deep breath, he opened the door carefully. The alien girl was already there, her luminous skin shifting in shades of soft pink and gold, her large eyes bright and curious. The floating garden had grown overnight. Tiny new buds glimmered faintly, and delicate tendrils of light stretched toward the ceiling. Elias felt a thrill of excitement. The garden had not only survived, but had flourished in his absence, a testament to her care and the life energy she could channel. She clicked softly, a rhythmic sound that Elias had begun to understand as a form of greeting and encouragement. He smiled, bowing slightly in return, and stepped into the room. Today would be different. Yesterday had been about learning and observing. Today, he felt they were ready to create something new together. Elias took a moment to look at the garden, noting the subtle patterns in the plants' movements. He realized that every plant, every floating energy mote, responded not just to gestures but to intentions and emotion. Humans, he thought, had a unique way of influencing things with curiosity and creativity rather than force or precision. It was a strength that could complement the alien girl's exacting techniques. "I have an idea," Elias said softly. "What if we try to make something that neither of us has done before? Something that combines your energy with Well, my human imagination. The alien girl tilted her head and clicked in a way that sounded like a soft laugh. She extended her hand, letting a single floating bud drift toward him. Elias took it carefully, feeling a spark of energy run through his fingers. They began by experimenting with shapes and patterns. Elias suggested forming a spiral that expanded outward, and she responded by guiding energy currents that made the plants rotate in graceful arcs. The result was a stunning display of floating flora, shimmering with colors that seemed almost alive. As they worked, Elias noticed something remarkable. The garden seemed to respond to their shared focus. When he concentrated on a single plant while she guided the surrounding energy, the entire system became more vibrant, almost as if the plants were aware of their intentions. Each motion, each gesture, each thought became part of a larger symphony of light and life. Hours passed without their noticing. They created delicate arcs of glowing vines, clusters of flowers that pulsed in rhythm with the alien girl's melodic clicks, and even tiny floating shapes that resembled stars and planets. It was a garden, but it was also an artwork, a collaboration of two very different species finding harmony and creativity. Elias laughed quietly at one particularly stubborn cluster of buds that refused to align with their design. The alien girl clicked, and he realized she was encouraging him to let go of control, to allow the plants to find their own form. He relaxed, and the cluster slowly moved into a perfect formation, sparkling as if it had always belonged there. By mid-afternoon, they had created something extraordinary. The garden was no longer just a collection of plants. It was a miniature universe, glowing and shifting with life and energy. Elias stepped back, feeling a sense of awe and pride. The alien girl hovered near him, her energy motes shimmering in approval. For a moment, they just watched, silent and content. Elias realized that the greatest discoveries often came not from instruction manuals or rigid procedures, but from curiosity, collaboration, and trust. Humans, with their creativity and adaptability, could bridge gaps that technology alone could not. "Your world, your garden," Elias said softly. "It's amazing, but I think we made it better together." The alien girl clicked, a sound Elias had come to interpret as agreement. It was not just a simple yes. It carried warmth, approval, and a quiet recognition of shared achievement. He smiled, feeling a connection that went beyond words or species. As evening approached, a soft glow filled the room. Elias realized that the garden had taken on a life of its own. The plants, the floating lights, and even the energy motes moved with a rhythm that seemed almost musical. He thought about how humans had a special way of improvising, of combining ideas in unexpected ways. This garden was a perfect example, neither his nor hers alone, but something greater than the sum of its parts. The next few days passed in a blur of experimentation and creativity. Elias and the alien girl discovered new techniques, blended human tools with alien energy manipulation, and created patterns that had never existed before. They laughed at failures, celebrated small victories, and learned more about each other with every movement and gesture. One day, Elias brought a small device he had built, a human invention designed to sense subtle changes in energy and light. The alien girl observed it with fascination, tilting her head and making melodic clicks. Together, they integrated the device into the garden, allowing them to see patterns and movements that were invisible to the naked eye. This combination of human innovation and alien technique created effects even more stunning than before. Floating spirals of light, flowers that glowed in response to touch, and vines that shifted in intricate patterns. Elias realized that humans had a remarkable ability to adapt and experiment, to find solutions that others might not consider. In this quiet room on this distant colony, they had proven it once again. And the alien girl, patient and precise, had taught him to balance creativity with understanding, energy with focus. By the end of the week, the garden had grown beyond anything either of them had imagined. It was no longer just a personal space. It was a symbol of cooperation, ingenuity, and connection. Other humans and aliens began to notice the soft glow from her room and came to watch from a respectful distance. They marveled at the patterns, the colors, and the harmony of life, but Elias and the alien girl remained focused on their shared creation, undistracted by admiration. One evening, as the sun set over the colony, Elias realized how far they had come. He looked at the alien girl, her luminous skin reflecting the shifting lights of the garden, and felt a profound sense of gratitude. He had walked into her room by accident, unsure and nervous, and had discovered something extraordinary, a way for humans to connect, create, and contribute in ways that no one had predicted. "Thank you," he said softly, "for letting me be part of this." She tilted her head, clicking in response. Elias felt a warmth in that sound, a recognition that transcended language. In that moment, he understood something essential. Humans had a gift, not just for invention or exploration, but for connection. Even across species, even in a universe full of unknowns, they could bring creativity, empathy, and ingenuity to life in ways that were impossible to ignore. The days that followed were filled with new experiments, new patterns, and new discoveries. Elias began to write notes, not just about the garden, but about the ways humans and aliens could collaborate, share ideas, and learn from each other. He imagined a future where mistakes were not failures but opportunities, where curiosity was valued over rigid procedure, and where humans could shine not through force, but through creativity and understanding. One afternoon, as they watched the garden shift and glow, Elias realized that the alien girl had become more than a teacher. She was a partner, a collaborator, and in some small way, a friend. Their combined efforts had created something that neither could have achieved alone. And in that creation, Elias saw a reflection of humanity itself, adaptable, imaginative, and capable of connection in ways that were both surprising and beautiful. The colony's other residents began to take notice. Scientists, explorers, and even children came to watch the garden, asking questions and learning. Elias and the alien girl guided them, showing how creativity and observation could work together. Soon, the garden became a symbol of what was possible when humans approached the unknown not with fear or domination, but with curiosity, patience, and an open heart. As Elias walked home one evening, he looked back at the glowing room. The garden floated in midair, pulsating with light, color, and life, and he knew that this was only the beginning. Humans had proven once again that their greatest strength was not in their weapons or technology, but in their minds, their hearts, and their ability to collaborate across boundaries. In the quiet of his quarters, he wrote his final notes for the week. He described the garden, the alien girl's techniques, and the ways in which human creativity had contributed. But more importantly, he wrote about the lessons learned: patience, observation, empathy, and the courage to try something new. These, he knew, were the qualities that made humans special, the qualities that allowed them to thrive anywhere, even among the stars. And as he drifted off to sleep, he imagined the garden floating silently above the floor of the alien girl's room. Each plant and energy mote a testament to collaboration, curiosity, and the quiet power of humanity. The accidental intrusion, the awkward first meeting, the hesitant attempts, all had led to something far greater than either could have imagined. And Elias Moore, human among aliens, understood fully that this was what humanity could offer to the galaxy: connection, creativity, and a willingness to grow alongside others. He smiled, knowing that tomorrow would bring new patterns, new discoveries, and new opportunities to prove that humans could not only survive among the stars, but flourish, inspire, and create beauty in ways no one had yet imagined. And in that quiet, glowing room on Nova Haven, a human and an alien girl continued to shape life, light, and possibility together.